Dragon's Lair at the Kalispell, Montana headquarters of Falcor Defense. This is Behind the Flame. Folks, we have an awesome episode for you today. We have Clint Hanson in the house from Ballistic Advantage, and there's a couple things I want to tell you before we hand it over to John and Clint, so pay attention. We are doing an awesome giveaway for the episode today. It is a Falcor swag pack and a Ballistic Advantage barrel of your choice. That's straight from Clint's mouth, right, bud?
That's right.
Awesome. All right, guys, to enter that giveaway, the most important thing you're going to need to do for us is go over to the iTunes podcast app. Leave us a review, preferably 5 stars, with your Instagram handle in the comment section. That's how we're going to know who to pick for the winner, as well as head over to our Instagram page and Ballistic Advantage's Instagram page, like their most recent post, and tag a friend, and make sure you're following both those pages for us. That'll be entered to win the giveaway. All right, folks, we do want to thank all of our sponsors of Behind the Flame to help us out every single week with these shows. That would be Kenzie's Optics, 221B Tactical, Bang Energy, Mark Bell Slingshot, who is a new sponsor of the show, Taurus USA, and, of course, the ever-delicious Chick-fil-A Kalispell. All those sponsors and links to their websites can be found at our show website, www.behindtheflame.com. Head over and check that out during the show. Make sure you share this live feed, whether you're watching it on Facebook or YouTube, with your friends. Let them know what's going on today with Clint Hanson in the house, and they can all join in and win and watch. So here's your host for the show today, guys, John Bartolo.
Thank you, Sam. That was the best one yet, I think.
I'm having a great
Can I get a ruling, Derek? Best one? Best one, Derek?
Oh, yeah, by far.
Yeah, you were dialed in.
Except he was really excited. He jumped in like 2 seconds before I gave him the microphone. So
You said 3, 2, 1.
I think the reason I'm saying I think it was the best one, I think his ratio of energy drinks to calmness to meds is perfect. Whatever the balance was, he nailed it. So good job, Sam. You killed it. I want to go around the horn and thank everybody. D. Mitchell Designs for producing this. Of course, Scummins on the microphone for his work there, Rebel Scummins. And Haley J. Photo, who chimed in a second ago, she was like, hey. She has a very interesting hat on today. I think it's a dead animal.
It's not a Hazard 4
Let's get a close-up. It's definitely not. I think it could be a dead animal. Of course, Austin Webb Designs. He's got his cans on. He's ready to party. Jason Sanju is as ready as he'll ever be. And Aaron Cross, sitting there with his notepad, writing everything down.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's got in there. He's got some kind of secret notes. But he's in class. So today's a special episode. I've had a very emotional week. I've had a very.
Were we just talking about this?
I've had a very emotional week. Had Tony in here, JJ, a lot of old friends. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I have probably my oldest friend in the business. There's what we call outwardly facing sides of the business, inwardly facing sides of the business, and probably one of my oldest friends on. There's no doubt this is a man I trust and respect, and he's done tremendous things in his time. I've watched over at Ballistic Advantage, and he's become truly someone that I value his advice and what he brings to the table just as a businessman and as a friend in so many ways. I know to all you guys on YouTube, you'll have questions about calibers and things like that and everything in between, so don't hesitate to chime in. And don't forget to enter the contest. It's going to be a badass one.
Barrel of your choice.
Barrel of your choice.
You're literally getting exactly what you want in this contest.
So I want to start, as I always do, by thanking him for coming in.
Well, it's a pleasure.
Appreciate his time. And I know many of you may not be familiar with the Ballistic Advantage Clint Hanson story. I'm going to have Clint start all the way in the beginning. Before Corporate Clint, I want to hear a little about Reckless Clint.
Headbuster Clint.
Headbuster Clint.
No.
I want you to go back in your mind and take us on the journey when Clint Hanson was breaking heads and taking names before he became Corporate Clint.
Well, I think it comes from a different take on business, I think. I come from construction. I'm a mason by trade.
Where are you from?
I was born in Chicago, but I've lived most of my life here in Florida.
Solid.
Or not here in Florida. In Florida. I'm in Montana now. Huh.
Don't be nervous. It's okay.
But, yeah, I think that's where it comes from. In construction and especially masonry, bricks and blocks, you're a little more high-strung, a little bit aggressive. And the joke of the Corporate Clint thing was, just calming down a little bit as you grow in business and work with people. And it was very important to my growth and getting to where I'm at today. So there's not much to tell. I was just aggressive, and it was needed in the business I was in. But it also taught me a ton that I use today in terms of just hard work and dedication to the craft, and not being afraid to continue to learn and work hard. So, and now that's something I convey to the people we work with and the team I have back home, and it's only been good. So,
How'd you get started in the firearms business?
well, towards my late 20s, construction kind of dried up a bit. So, I found myself doing a few other things. I was actually traveling to Georgia and building super targets and just doing that sort of thing. And I really didn't want to be away from my family. I had already had a young daughter by that point, and so I had to figure something else out. So I found myself with my brother-in-law. He had an acrylic plaque company where, just like any wooden plaques you see in a restaurant or anything like that, this was an acrylic plaque, so it was more of a high performance kind of.
You had pointed out the magazine displays we have in the lobby at Falcor here. That are very similar to.
Very similar to what I was doing, and they were a struggling business, and I was looking for something new to do, so I came in and kind of took, the production approach that I had from construction and applied that to that company, and it worked out well. I got to dabble in new things. I taught myself laser technology and cutting acrylic, and then also laser engraving different items, plates and whatnot, and that's kind of what led to a gun shop that was close by. So backward engineered a few templates to hold various gun parts and engrave them. So that's kind of how it started originally. Once that didn't work out so well with that company, I actually, by doing that for that company, got my foot in the door to come on and just basically be a laser engraver for them. And that lasted a week or two, I think, before I got approached to see if I could actually build guns, AR-15 specifically. And I said, yeah, I think I could do it. And I think I built 50 that first day. So it came very natural, and I think right then I found something that was, you could be good at doing something, but when you're building a rifle for someone, the end user, to not ding it up, to make sure it's built with a passion and respect for the platform, and then to know that they're going to get it when they get home and to look at it and love it. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. It was extremely fascinating to me to be able to do it. And then there was so much more than I thought there was, in terms of the gun industry. I had no previous experience prior to that, so it was very new. I hadn't learned something from someone else. I think that was a feather in my cap without knowing. I didn't have any predisposed disposition towards guns or how they're built or what's good or what's not. I actually got to physically do it and build with different parts, different barrels, different receivers, rails, muzzle devices, suppressors, you name it. And so I got a multi-million-dollar education just by building entirely too many rifles. And that was my introduction to it. So it was pretty, I'd say, fortuitous for me, because I did love what I did, or what I was doing, and there was a payoff. There was a lot of good relationships that come with it. This industry, I think you hear it a lot. People talk about the relationships, but it's not a cliche. It's absolutely true. I've never seen an industry or an aspect of my life where I met better people at just a frantic rate. Just around every corner there was somebody that was very, very good and passionate about this industry, but it's because of their background and where they came from. And I found that fascinating, and I just continued to want me to, sink my teeth in and really stay in it. So during that time, early on, I met a man who started a barrel manufacturing company out of his garage. And he's probably the most, I'd say, besides my wife, one of the biggest reasons for the best positive changes in my life or anything. Adam Wainio, the founder and president of Ballistic Advantage, and he made the best barrels. I got to build with everybody's. And whenever I wanted to know what a muzzle device could do, what a new gas system or what a new chassis was doing, I made sure I had enough Ballistic Advantage barrels of the same kind to do that testing, and that's how I knew I could get a true report of it. And it was just kind of pissing in the wind if I was trying it with somebody else's product, because it just wasn't as consistent. It wasn't as true. It wasn't just continuous perfection all the time. And this guy he's just brilliant. You should have him on here.
Closer to your mouth.
Closer.
He's invited.
Yeah, and that was just a really big point in my life where where it really just redirected everything once I got on board with him. He was very open to the Hanson profile, and we did that together prior to me working for him. But once I got with him, it really started to pick up. You know, I was able to take everything I had learned building rifles and talking to the consumer and helping them, tech support, learning the different personalities and concerns people have, and really bring a passion and an interest, you know, to it, rather than just, you know, some mindless connection with the consumer where you make something, you sell it, see you never. You know, I didn't want it to be that, and this was a way where you could physically make something for someone, and then you have a lifelong connection, and you can keep them coming back to you, and it's just a beautiful thing.
Wow. That's a long journey. There's a lot of years wrapped up in that story.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of personal, time invested into making sure you can have that knowledge base, and folks may think they know what Clint knows, but you probably don't. I'm just saying.
So, yeah, and how many years passed, from when you were doing acrylics to when you get to Ballistic, and you go from a garage to now you have how big of a facility?
We have 3 different locations, about 70 employees. Yeah, it actually has grown at an unhealthy rate. It's fantastic. It's been probably about 10 years.
Nice.
So it's gotten pretty big. We're ready for a nice standalone building like this, I think.
Wow. So you cover a lot and say a lot, but obviously, your expertise precedes you now. People, like you said earlier, around the industry, you're not going around introducing yourself as much as you once did. Educate some of the listeners and some of the folks on what it takes to make a great barrel, in your opinion, what it takes to produce a quality product in that space. Because I think barrels are, I'd argue, one of the neglected areas. It's kind of like, well, I got to get a barrel.
I think perception is neglected. I think there's been a common misconception that a barrel's a barrel, and they're all the same, no matter where you get it from. And I think that couldn't be further from the truth. The process and how Adam started the company, from that very opinion, from that standpoint, you know what, I think I can do this better. He was absolutely right. You're molding steel, you're creating something that's going to be the lifeline of that rifle, and you don't take shortcuts. We didn't want to make the cheapest, but we also didn't want to, confine ourselves to a small space of, very expensive, barrels that are hard to afford for your everyman. And we really thought it was much smarter to go and cater to, a price structure that's affordable, so someone can achieve great things with their rifle, especially the do-it-yourself market. It made a lot of sense to cater to them so they could get something that's excellent at an affordable price.
Right. That DIY market, you bring up a lot. That DIY market with the reloaders and the folks out there, we've seen that market kind of explode the last 15 or 20 years, I'd say. What do you attribute that to, and what are some of the reasons you feel that DIY market has really seen, I think, unprecedented growth in the firearms business, in spite of what we would call, some people call it the Trump slump, different things like that. What do you attribute that to?
I think first and foremost, it's possible. The design of this platform itself. If it's hard. I can't just go and watch a YouTube video and build a car. However,
I think you could try. It might not make it down this. You might blow up.
The design and the nature of an AR-15 and how compatible other parts are in the industry. That's the first part of it. But it is doable. And that's why I really cater to with the Builder series and teaching people how to do it. You can. I think there's some people, they're just Legos for adults, and then that's where mistakes can happen, and they can overlook certain things. However, it is doable if you pay attention and you have X amount of tools. It's
a fine line though between, and I want to get your take on this. I've never really asked this. There's a fine line between the DIY guys and those at-home gunsmiths with the Dremel. Where do you draw? It's great. It's great to build, an AR at home, and you have that experience. We've all done it. Everybody in this room's done it at some point. I've done it horribly at times, but I've done it. Where do you draw the line? Like when the Dremel comes out, is it like, cut the tape?
There are certain things that I'm not going to encourage people to do. However, I have a soft spot for the guy that goes for it.
The attempt.
So it's like, that was pretty ambitious.
If you were to make a recommendation to Joe at Home Gunsmith, like where it's like, hey, let's draw the line here, where would that be, like before they get some real solid education or spend some time with a gunsmith? Would it be when the Dremel comes out or the acetylene torch?
Somewhere in between, maybe. I guess I don't know.
I'm kind of partial to proper gas porting and stuff in a rifle. So there's a lot of things guys are going to do to a gun that's really not going to make or break it. But once you start drilling that hole and messing with it, you can be in a world of hurt. And there's no you can always make something bigger. You can't make it smaller.
Right.
So, like I said, I do have a soft spot for them. And if somebody's going to try it, and plus you can't neglect somebody's capability.
Yeah.
There's guys at home that live regular lives that are just brilliant, and they've made their own tools and done certain things that I've learned from, and I continue to do so, and it's fascinating.
It's really a fine line though, because those DIY products have expanded so much in the marketplace. You have people who can build like pretty much a whole Glock at home from components, and you have 80%ers coming on the market, and that market has just expanded so much. And we all know how that, it stems from the reloading crowd. A lot of the reloaders are DIY guys, hardcore DIY guys. So we've seen that explode. But I stay on the barrels because we take for granted here in Falcor, and we're all jaded in this building because we know what good barrels are, and we pay attention to that, and the sub-MOA and all that jazz. But the average consumer doesn't really understand the value of a barrel and understand the value of a quality barrel. What would you suggest would be the first couple things somebody should look for in a barrel when they're going to purchase one?
Well, I think they need to know what they're trying to achieve in terms of how far they're shooting, what they're shooting at. And just like any other industry, I think reviews are a good thing to look at. I'm not afraid to, take the challenge and let people see what Ballistic Advantage has done over the years. You want a reputable company, someone you can definitely trust, and not everybody's a machinist. Not everybody can recognize good machining. But I think interestingly enough, you can look at price, and I think we come in at a very competitive price with other manufacturers out there. I think you're getting a little more with Ballistic Advantage, but if you buy a $60 barrel, you're probably going to get what you pay for.
I agree. So real quick on YouTube, our good friend from Grey Ghost and Tactical Tailor, BB, says hi. He said,
BB?
thank you, Clint, for having lunch with me in Utah. Huge fans of Tac Tailor. They're big supporters of the show. Thank you, BB, and we love you.
He's
Clint
awesome
actually
guy.
got a sick Grey Ghost bag in our swag pack.
I
All of
did.
our
I
guests,
did.
little plug, all of our guests get Grey Ghost bags. Thank you, BB, and thank you to the Grey Ghost team. We appreciate you guys. Here's another question from Diesel308. Interesting name. What's the biggest pucker factor in one of your builds?
The biggest pucker factor.
Like risk?
What gets you nervous during the build, maybe? Gas, probably, I would say. Knowing you the way I know you, gas.
Yeah. Well, not knowing what someone else is going to do to it or put on it, and I really don't get you hit on the head with gas, but that's from another manufacturer. Fortunately, with Ballistic Advantage, we can control that, and that's something we definitely take seriously.
I've had terrible gas lately.
But I think ammo is very very sensitive from owner to owner.
Everyone in this room will attribute my love for gas.
Disgusting.
Disgusting.
It's pretty terrible.
Something that Clint and I had discussed yesterday when you first got here from the shop and we were walking around showing you the place and stuff. We're taking a short break and I started just talking about your experience from building literally thousands of guns, and your experience from doing that, and comparing the experience that you've gained and knowledge you've gained for the fine detail and variation between different parts as you assemble the same thing over and over, or variations of different types of builds, to someone that's only built maybe like 10 guns or 5
Right.
guns or something like that, and they think that you know everything about the AR at that point because they're fairly easy to assemble. Like to slap together, but there's a minutia of technique when it comes to certain operations that require a higher level of finesse. Would you say that that's what really sets a professional builder, someone that works for a gun company, apart from someone that just kind of puts parts together? I mean, I'm sure there are home builders that do a fantastic job and build phenomenal rifles.
Yeah, there are, and they do exist. I do think it's a really good point, but it's reputation. If you're doing it every day, that's your job. You're going to be good at it.
Yeah.
whether somebody's born to do it or not, that may be the difference there. But you do have to respect these manufacturers that build rifles. You guys hear that's your job, it's your trade, that's what you do. So the guy that has it as a hobby, perhaps it is a good idea for him to open his mind and take advice, or I guess accept when he's asking a question, or if there's some sort of issue that you are talking to the professionals, and in that there's a good relationship there where everybody can learn something.
It's a similar analogy to a home improvement guy that does projects on the weekend, and someone that's a mason, an operative mason in the trades. Right.
Yeah, and I think the so-called expert or whatever has to have an open mind too, because that's how they became that person. Yeah. If you think you know everything, you're in some trouble. And you're going to die not knowing everything. You'll always be able to learn. And I don't think, that closed mind thinking is good for anybody, whether you're an expert or not. So just open conversation. And more to that point, the reason I think that came up in our conversation is because when you build so many, I think I saw a lot of things that were, that most builders won't ever see. Yeah. Some tolerance stacking that just won't happen to most people who buy their own stuff and build it. So that's why we do our builder series on YouTube and have that channel, because I want to, kind of share those experiences.
Tell us a little more about the builder series. What exactly are you guys hitting and all that stuff?
So now we're really concentrating on the Q&A stuff, but for the last 2.5 years or so, that's kind of how it's what made sense for us. I looked at what was out there in terms of viewership and what is out there to help the guy that's at home building it. And there's just a lot of critical things, and you need this tool and you need this, and it's just a long drawn out video that's not very captivating and really doesn't relate to the builder. So I wanted to have a more practical, laid back approach, and teach them little tricks that I've learned over the years, or ways that I've done things, and I break it up into little segments. So if you're looking, how do I install low profile gas block? Well, there's a video for that. And and I've got a really good response from it. People like that, candid approach towards it, and back and forth. So,
what's the biggest customer service issue you have with barrels that people come up with? Because I know we see some here, and a lot of it might have to do with accuracy. What do you see at Ballistic as a common, hey, I got my barrel and this happened, or that you're talking people through? What's a very common one?
Common one. Usually during some form of installation of it all, someone might, do something improperly, or, damage it in some way, which isn't the end of the world. I think, and more often than not, if you're honest about it, how it happened and how you damaged the product, or you're not achieving the results you wanted to, we want to look and find what happened in there and help you out, because it really doesn't do us any good to say, hey, well, you screwed it up, take a hike. No, we promote this. We promote the ability for people to be able to do it themselves and work with our product. So if you need a little help, we're going to give it to you. So, and that could be from installing a muzzle device, and usually it's some other part of the rig. Everybody's going to blame the barrel first, which is fine. We can start off like that.
I feel like the barrel of the trigger is always something that gets that first blame.
Putting the hammer spring on backwards.
Something,
I've seen gas tubes installed upside down.
Oh man, that's awesome. My rifle won't run.
I was impressed with that one.
Or, the Builder series is intriguing because do you feel now in media, and I know we talk a lot about this stuff, people want to be educated but as well as entertained, and I've seen some of the series where there's some entertainment involved in it, and it addresses some of those customer service issues and some of those things that people come up with, but in a fun way that people can enjoy. Right. and kind of be walked through.
Yeah, we never wanted to be perceived as closed off or hard to deal with. I think customer service is a huge aspect of any business. So if you can, you're catering to a consumer that is looking for that, that shoulder to lean on. They're
Right.
looking for that company that they can trust, and really that's opening the door and inviting them in for, for help, for anything. And that's really what we wanted to achieve.
It's brilliant because it plays to your strength and your area of expertise. And I know just from knowing you, it's great to get out there and, like you said, offer people some tips and tricks and some education. And, one of those strengths here at Falcor, and why we started this, was we have such a sense of family here and camaraderie, and we have such a great network. We wanted to have folks in and highlight that and put that out there. We're a very open organization and group, and we have such a sense of family and camaraderie here that this was an extension of that. Do you feel the Builder Series really complements that?
I do. Much like what you guys are doing with this, behind the flame. You're getting insight into the company, that there's actual real people with families and children and going to work every day to do something they're, the best they can do, just like your consumer. Mm-hmm. So if you can have a connection with that and they realize, you can. I look at this like when they start doing behind the scenes bloopers in movies. People say it hurt it because you had these actors that had this status up here, and then as soon as you did that, it wiped it away. Well,
no way, man.
Yeah, I think it's. Well, I do think that could be a perception for some and kind of maybe ruin that movie experience. But in business and with this, I'd rather people see that we're real people. We have families. We get up. We put our pants on one leg at a time. We have children. But there's an open quality that we have and a helpful nature, in the legacy that we're trying to build, and that started with Adam. That's the kind of man he is. He's a great boss. It's just really easy to be yourself and to do the right thing, when you believe in the product you're making and you're trying to do it from a benevolent cause.
Yeah. Tom Knobloch says, super happy with my 11.3 upper I bought from BA. Runs great, not overgas, super reliable. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. And Clint hears you loud and clear. It's crazy. We've been friends for so long. You finally got up here. You take the tour. You visit, the facility here. You meet the team. You spend a little more time with Jason and Melinda. Mm-hmm. What do you love about the brand now? And now that I'm here and you've got a chance to visit and spend some time, what do you think of all this and everything we're doing here?
I think it's amazing. There's definitely a magic, not only just with Montana, but when I got here. Now I've known all you guys for some time now, but it feels like I've known you for a lot longer. There's definitely a clear family element, where it's everyone working together to try to improve the brand and to work it. But there's definitely a magic here. There's a brand that you cannot recreate. You guys are doing a great job with it. So I'm super stoked, super proud to be here and to be in business with you guys.
And of course, we thank you for that, of course. And we love the partnership and working with you and just having you in here the last 24 hours, spending some time with the team and just watching everybody soak it up. I don't think, Sam, we've had a guest in quite like this where everybody was kind of following him around with notepads since Bruce.
True.
When Bruce was here, it was like watching 12 elves follow him around, just writing down everything the guy said because he's such a branding juggernaut. You can learn so much from him. With that, how old is Bruce? 100?
Probably, I think he's 100. He might be 150.
That 50 years of experience, we love you, Bruce. But, it really is something to see. And part of this journey with what we're doing here was to get folks in like you and really spend some time and get you to spend some time with the team. And we thank you for coming in and giving us some insight and just offering us, 24 hours of your time to be able to kind of look at some of the process, some of the things we were doing. And that's invaluable. And do you feel like that sharing of ideas and that sharing of business 101 with teams and with groups is lost in the industry a little bit? I feel like it is a little. I think there was a dark period there where everybody was like,
it's mine. Don't look at it.
Don't look at the, do you feel like that's lost a little bit?
I think from place to place, but I think that's any industry. I think that's any family, any relationship. You really gotta. You don't have to search too hard, but especially in this industry, birds of a feather flock together, and eventually you're going to find each other. And we never changed. It was one way and not the other. I do know what you're saying. I don't feel like it was ever lost. I just think with social media, I think with the boom of the industry years ago, it gave it it gave people more of a front row seat to see that sort of thing. Now the interaction between it all, no matter what, I think any older people that have been in the industry a long time, they talk about a time where everything was about relationships, and that has been lost. And I can see in areas that's been compromised. But if you don't go down that path, then you don't have to worry about it. Or
right.
Maybe we're bringing that back a little bit. But that integrity, that camaraderie in the industry, even with competition between companies, you can still have that. But that doesn't mean you can't, be good to each other. But in terms of when it makes sense like this. coming here and sharing anything. I'm fascinated that anybody's interested in anything I have to say. That's, I don't anticipate that, but
You're like somewhat interesting.
Yeah. So, we've known each other a long time. Like I said, you're one of my oldest friends in the business, hands down. We've been to the shows. I remember stopping in the shop in your office, and you got weights thrown around and a desk in the corner. And, we've been through a lot together in this business. What do you think of the industry as a whole, the show scene, the business? I mean, how does it, it's crazy because we've seen so much and so many people come and go.
yeah.
How does it rub you?
Like the Earth cycle. I think it's just natural. It's fads are going to come and go, business plans. You're going to have people that are trying to copy or follow a blueprint that someone else is doing. But integrity and being original, I think, is always going to be, a little bit more desirable and stand in the forefront. But yeah, I do get what you're saying. We talk about the do-it-yourself market, growing and booming so much, but I think with the boom of the industry and when it's hot, you have a lot of companies coming out of the woodwork and wanting to start a company or, and I think a lot of people get jaded from that. Like, it's saturated. There's too many people around. But what a better time to showcase what you do special, and you're going to stick around and last the test of time. It's a good challenge for yourself. It's often a talk I have if I'm stressed a little bit or if I'm worried about something or if I'm bringing it up to the president of Ballistic Advantage is often good at it because he'll look at me and say, well, it's a nice new challenge, let's do it. And instantly it's that's your pursuit. So there's constantly going to be changes. Things are going to come and go. Popular calibers, platforms, laws, all these things really change and continue to mold our industry, and you've got to be listening. You've got to be watching. You've got to know what your consumer needs, and then also educate the consumer on what you believe they should have instead.
As a builder and a guy with your background, and put you on the spot a little bit.
Okay.
How much does it bother you when you see some, and I'm not naming companies, you see companies pop up, like you said, in some of these booms, when you see a company that's just doing it wrong or they're like a hack, out there, and we've seen them come on the market. How much do you sit back and say, like, what the fuck are they doing over there? Are they using the wrong steel? Or they're doing this? And, I know the type of guy you are. You do your thing, and everybody does. But do you ever sit back and you're like, what the fuck?
No, I mean, it really doesn't bug me. I mean, maybe as a conversation piece or something, it might be curious. I'm like, interesting. But
I highly doubt that's the language you use.
I like that. I have similar reactions at times. Sometimes I'm like, what the fuck? And other times I'm like, all right, that's what you're doing.
But tell me you haven't seen somebody do something that's, makes you scratch your head, but it's coming from a good place. Not everybody's good at something. They, you can't really make fun of someone because of their failures or if they don't do it well. I don't really tie into that too much. Doesn't really bug me, not at all. If anything.
But you see it.
Sure. Sure.
You see it. So it happens. I mean, around the industry, and it's not about naming names, but there are, some people come on the scene and they try to do things on the cheap or not above board, and we've seen it 100 times. I think it's one of those things that it's not about, like you said, getting angry about it. It's just more, that's an eyebrow raiser.
Yeah, I really can't get bothered by things. I'm a dad, so it's kind of hard for me to care about something so much where it's going to get me worked up. I got bigger fish to fry. But you do see that, and that is the competition of the industry, and you see and whatnot. But we're pretty confident in what we do, so I tend not to buy into that too much.
Outside of rifle building and barrel building, and your family, I know your family is near and dear to your heart. What are you passionate about? What are your other passions? What drives you?
Drives me? Improvement. Becoming better. As a father, as a husband, in business. Obviously, we like to lift weights and be physical, but make sure I'm not ever staying the same.
Yeah, we say it every episode. I mean, training is incredibly important to us here. It's incredibly important to everyone here. We're constantly trying to train, and that's an extension of improving. I don't think there's a training we ever aren't willing to jump into or get involved with, and we're always trying to push our limits, whether it's in the weight room, on the range, whatever it is. I don't think there's a hunt Melinda hasn't done. I don't think there's a person I'm not willing to train with or haven't trained with. Jason stepped up and done that a bunch. Training in the weights and physical fitness is something that comes up a lot. And obviously you're an in-shape guy. I mean, anyone on the YouTube can see that. Do you feel like you see that merger in firearms, and we've talked about this before, and fitness and training is a good thing, and do you feel like seeing that come into the scene, expecting a little bit more from folks to train and get out there is always going to be a good thing in this business? Or do you feel like some people are like, what the fuck, why are they lifting? They're just in shape.
Yeah, I don't understand. You talk about it a lot, but I don't really notice or see a lot of bad press from it. But no matter what industry you're in, I can't see where being in shape or improving yourself could be a bad thing. Something I speak to my oldest daughter about a lot, and anybody who's asking for advice, if they want it from me, is balance. And if you can do well in all things you're doing, including your physical health, your marriage, your schooling, whatever you do, don't half-ass anything. But how we treat our bodies, how we, like if you're failing at something and it's showing, why not try to improve it? So do I think it goes hand in hand in this industry? And some may think it doesn't. I do think it goes hand in hand. I think if you're outside, you're running, you're doing anything, it pays to be physically fit. Or even in some of these places, like Florida's flat. So coming to Montana, or I was just in Utah, you walk up a mountain, it's a little different. So if you want to go hunting or something like that, you better have it strapped on and be ready to go.
Are we witnessing the death of the mag dump marketing?
I hope so.
Where it was just, hey, I'll do a mag dump, and
Look how awesome it is.
Yeah.
Look at a mag dump.
There's definitely an appeal to it. Everybody's guilty of pulling a full auto Friday or something like that, and it can be fun. Don't get me wrong. I think if we're witnessing the death of it, it's because manufacturers and people like us are sick of doing it. It's like, I don't want to waste
I've
all
been
my
there,
ammo
done
just
that.
doing that. However, you'd be lying if you didn't think it was cool. Take someone who's never shot before.
yeah.
I know we do. We
No,
do have that, but,
what I'm getting at is a bigger picture. It's kind of like, I've been saying for a while now with all these, with the accessibility of easy ways to stream media and put video content out there. I've said it before. I think we're witnessing essentially the death of the still photography, of just being able to get away with, hey, I'm just going to take a cool photo with a gun. And I think people want to be more interactive with that. And I think there'll always be a place for it, just like there'll always be a place for the mag dump. But I think we're seeing media transition now where people are kind of like, hey, that looks really cool, but like, who's behind it? What are the personalities behind what I'm buying? Because everybody's dollar is so important, and you talk a lot about that.
Yeah.
And that's something that you're passionate about, where the consumer's dollar goes. I think they want to know beyond just, hey, here's a cool photo. Who's actually building my gun? Who's actually behind that company? Who are the personalities? Who's involved with that? And what are they like? Are they someone I can relate to? Are they pliable? I think that's coming in, and it's coming in ferociously in this industry.
It is. It's the next best thing. You obviously can't go from your location and reach and touch everyone that you would like to purchase your product and to use it. What's the next best thing? Well, you do a video. You explain it. You show it. If you make a good product and you have, you do a range day or something like that, you can hand somebody a rifle and just sit back and smile and wait for their smile after they shoot it. You can't do that with everyone. So if you can do it and have them almost taste it, in a video, it's so much better, and that freedom absolutely is valuable, and you want to do that because you don't want to just be gaining someone's business because a good, you have whatever widget on it that's going to sell a lot that may be something that does nothing, and but you want to give them something that they're actually going to spend their hard-earned money on and appreciate. So there's no better way to to show that, and you can't fake it.
Right.
So it's much better. The strong will stick around, and the people that are doing it the right way will. This is a feather in our cap if you're a good company making great products, and there's a ton of them across the industry. So utilizing video is huge. Social media, all this stuff.
I can't agree more. So, with that being said, who inspires you? Who do you, not necessarily companies, but like, who do you look to and you're like, wow, I know we made a phone call earlier today to someone that, you got all fired up about.
Yeah.
But who, if you want to rattle off a couple pages or people, who do you look at and you're like, damn, I got to get up an hour earlier, or fuck, I got to, eat my Brussels sprouts. Who, or I gotta build that rifle a little tighter. Who do you look at and you're like, gets you going?
I think there's a couple popular ones everybody likes. I'm drawn to the real people. The guy he's mentioning is Seth Ferrocci. I'm a huge fan of him. He's got a great personality,
And
good
he'll be
sense of
on.
humor.
Yeah.
Good sense of humor, and he tells it like it is. You can trust that guy, and if you can somehow portray that as when you're selling something or when you're trying to achieve great things in business, there's nothing more valuable, because that's the only way you can get someone to believe it. When somebody's full of shit or not, and when you watch that guy, he's not. He has no reason to lie to you. Obviously you watch The Rock, you figure that guy never sleeps. But whenever you're feeling sorry for yourself, go ahead and
He's a fucking savage.
go ahead and watch one of his videos. Okay, I need to.
I
need
suck.
stuff. Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, find something that's going to force you to be better. Yeah. If anybody's happy with themselves how they are and they don't want to improve, okay, I guess that's okay. But that's not for me. I think just as a human in general, to improve and to be better. If you're the same person when you're 20 as when you're 30, then
you're in trouble.
You didn't do enough.
You're in trouble.
That's a problem.
Can we talk about the B.A. Hanson barrels specifically right now? Because you mentioned some things to me yesterday that I feel like we should expand on.
Okay.
With the whole no right angles thing and your really intense study of gas system length and port size and specific barrel geometry for that profile and why that's a thing.
Well, we wanted to. Well, it originated from just shooting a ton of different barrels and gas systems, and I think a good thing that happened by me not having any kind of predisposed knowledge of the industry or gas system or anything was I had a really open mind to it, outside the box kind of thinking without knowing I was doing that.
Yeah, you're not like necessarily a trained mechanical engineer. Or
No. I just through test firing, I noticed there was a different kind of feel and impulse, not just between gas systems, but diameters of barrels and how they were profiled. Specifically, a pencil barrel. I want to do. I know on our own page, the boss and I want to do a more in-depth version, but I'll try to do my best right now. A pencil barrel had a different kind of splashy feel, so to speak. So I started thinking about it, and the idea is the phenomenon of barrel whip does exist. Okay, so if you had a straw in your hand, you wave it out in front of you, it's pretty stiff. You crease that straw, it's going to flap around. Now, in terms of the outer diameter of a barrel, the thicker the barrel, the more rigid it is. The less barrel whip you're gonna have. But it is something that happens with a rifle. So, and we make all different kind of profiles at Ballistic Advantage, and none of them are, lacking in that. But I wanted to see if we could do something a little more practical, or just have something that kept, stood us apart. So, and I had the idea of it, but I didn't think it was going to really, grow legs until I ran it by Adam. Adam's like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Let's try that. So, if we're eliminating the right angles, especially like, the step from, under the handguard to the gas block journal. Or an M4 has the M203 notch on it and a gas block journal. All those right angles are locations where you're increasing barrel whip, just like the crease straw. So, now take that back of why we wanted, to do something else. What's the first move somebody makes when they, I want to limit barrel whip. What do I need to do? Well, I need to go get a bull barrel. Well, now it's not an AR-15. An AR-15 was meant to be a lighter weight platform, so you can carry it, and pounds equal pain. They get heavy. So mathematically, I can compare a Hanson barrel that's thinner than another barrel that's thicker, but I can eliminate some of the the differences in terms of humans' perceived feel and the performance of the barrel itself. So you're taking a lighter, thinner profile and making it more rigid without, having those right angles on there. So consequently, it worked out well for us, and it did. It made us stand apart. What does Ballistic Advantage do differently besides our process, which is really hard to explain to everybody? Well,
Without giving away the secrets.
Well, we got this blonde guy that thinks he knows something, and and we're going to put the logo on it. But no, I mean, there's a lot of passion behind it, and I wouldn't have done it if or wanted to be a part of it if Adam didn't believe in it too, and it's worked out actually really, really well.
And
so
now you got a Hanson logo. Your name has a logo now.
yeah, my brother Darren came up with that logo.
That's awesome.
I really like it.
So, to everybody on YouTube and everybody listening, you're seeing the depths of this education the last 24, 48 hours. We can spend an hour
Oh, we could talk about
talking about
just barrels for a whole
barrels and whip and everything else. But to everybody on YouTube, some people are chiming in. You're all eligible to win a barrel of your choice from the man himself.
Yeah.
And maybe a consultation.
Yeah, what I'd like to do is, everybody knows what they want, but maybe we can, discuss it a little bit and see what your needs are. Maybe I have something special that you don't know.
Clint's offering a personal consultation to the winner.
Oh man!
So,
Can I win?
Make sure on YouTube you're sharing, liking, commenting, tagging, a consultation directly from the man on what barrel to choose and how to structure your build. You heard it here.
Honestly, the best way to get picked is make us notice you. To be honest.
Yeah, to get noticed. So maybe we'll make that call together. We'll see if Austin works his magic and picks a winner.
Those who don't have iTunes, we get people question about that.
Yeah, if you
can
don't
try
have
on Instagram.
iTunes, you're still eligible. You basically make the loudest noise you can on the internet, and we'll find you. There's a good one from Diesel 308 who wants a mustache ride. I don't know. We'll ask around the room.
Whoa! Come on.
I don't have a rifle, LOL. But if you want to build one, God's Warrior,
We have
we'll
a
be more than
picture
happy
of
to
John
help you.
and Clint with John with
Yep.
a mustache.
Let's pull the picture. I was growing it out then.
Derek's working on it.
Derek's working on pulling up the picture. So keep the questions coming, but make the most noise on the internet, and we'll get you a winner, Chris. So don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. You're eligible. Don't worry about iTunes. We're not elitists. There's a picture of Clint and I.
That's a TriggerCon in Tacoma. This
I'll be
past year.
straight with you, Clint. As big of a human as you are, my forearms might outangle you.
They do. They absolutely do. They're very, very impressive.
Very impressive. That shows a little bit of our friendship and how far back we go. We probably haven't taken a lot of pictures together, but I think we go back about five years or so plus. It's been a wild ride. It's been crazy. As a whole, I know that picture popped up on social media. What do you think of social media? You've been a quiet guy recently, coming out of the shadows a little bit and popping up and doing these videos. What do you think of social media out there, and particularly as it relates to the gun industry?
I think it's fantastic. I think it's a perfect platform to do exactly what we've been talking about, with video and to giving people an insight into the company or what you're trying to do, especially with the stories you're doing. You don't really want to do an email blast to everybody and to really just contaminate or flood them with a bunch of information. But if you have a few different areas where you can advertise something, show them what you're doing, give them some insight, and I think it gets a little crazy from time to time, but I love the idea of putting your money where your mouth is, and with social media you can really do that in live time, or post whenever you want. And I don't see it as a bad thing at all.
And we talked about this a little bit. The industry, I would say you're a good guy to talk to about this. The industry's flooded with people that work within the industry, and then social media, what I mean, is flooded with people that don't really work in the industry. But do you feel social media creates that feeling of like people think that they work in the industry, or do you feel like, how do I put this? Should they have a say as a whole, and should it affect some people as much as it does? I mean, where does the line get drawn? Because I feel like sometimes there's some people on social media in groups and things that they think they're a part of, they don't see behind the flame like we're talking about. Do you feel like that's overblown? Do you feel like, social media sometimes gets misused? As a guy who's kind of watched from behind the scenes, do you feel like some people misuse the platform?
I do. I think whenever it starts getting negative, that's where I don't see any room for it. You know, somebody trolling or people taking the time out to be a hater or to do whatever. I don't see any room in that, because everyone's trying to improve themselves or their brand or sell something. You know, the negativity is really bad. And in terms of somebody who's not in the industry, I think there's a lot of use or value in somebody who does you use cameramen, you use people who are specialists in other areas that really bring value to a company or to your social media channel, whatever you're doing. But the negativity is probably the only thing I can see that I can do without. I like anybody who's trying to make it, who's trying to put effort into something, and so even if they're doing it wrong or from a bad place, I can't not respect that.
Yeah, Tony went on a rant and he used the line we like, just stay in your lane. Like, I think it's an overused term, but it's true. And I think some people veer off and they don't really understand what's going on behind the scenes or the people behind the scenes or what's involved in certain decisions and what, shapes certain folks in certain companies. But Chris Cooper makes a point, social media only fails when you can't get actual products in people's hands, in my opinion. Social media does make you feel a part of shows, might not get to go, and it drums up excitement. That's absolutely true, Chris. Social media is great for that. Mm-hmm. It can definitely drum up support and help people get a better understanding if it's used properly. I asked Clint this, and I put this on Clint because he's a quiet observer. Clint's watched a lot of what goes on, and he pays attention, and he sees a lot of things out there, but he's also an inwardly facing guy. He's corporate Clint. He's on the, he sits back and he actually works within this business. And I think at shows and at events, Chris, and I put this out there, there's a lot of folks that they don't necessarily work within the business. And I think they develop such strong opinions sometimes, and sometimes it permeates to a negative side, and sometimes it stays as a positive. But they need to understand that there's a whole lot of decisions made in whether it's taking products to market, whether it's development of certain products, whether it's choices made within the industry. And I always ask that folks, and I think Clint touched on this. It's meant to be staying positive and staying reflective on the goals of what we're trying to accomplish as a company and as individuals. And I think some people veer off and go sideways on you a little bit, and that's when it kind of goes awry. And I think it's a slippery slope.
You do. But I mean, just like you have different people, different personalities, you have different consumers. Some that are going to really put the pressure on you and be like, I expect this from this company, and this is how it's got to be. And, granted, you have a point there, and we want to try to accommodate you, but I do encourage people to kind of see that even if it's a company, it's not done by robots. We're human beings as well, and we're doing our best. And
humans are fallible. Sometimes we make mistakes. It happens.
Correct. The world's an imperfect place, man.
We had a long conversation yesterday about customer service and your approach to it, and we're along a lot of the same lines, honestly. Mm-hmm. It's just really helpful because a barrel is a difficult thing to warranty, especially when you have a guarantee of a certain type of performance. Yep. And there's so many factors that go into that, although you explained it really plainly. So give us some insight on that, because I know that we have issues here. Every barrel manufacturer encounters some customer having some sort of issue, whatever it might be. And sometimes it boils down to that person is not as skilled as they think they might be.
I mean, it could be, but what good is it going to do to try to point that out or have that be the basis for your focus or your start? I think instantly when you have something like that, what an opportunity to connect even further with that customer.
Exactly. Your suggestion was let's assume off the bat that it's our product that's a problem.
Yeah.
We messed up.
Why not?
So we're going to start there and then assess it from that point.
Yeah, I'm definitely confident enough in the job our people do and manufacturing and the product that we make, where we wouldn't open up that can of worms or have that guarantee if we weren't willing to deal with it.
Sure. So
I don't know. Maybe I might be a little bit partial to that sort of thing, because I do love to talk to people and to help them out, because a situation like that is a perfect opportunity to again further that relationship and to help someone. And it's a pretty cool little perk to the job by making somebody's day or helping them out or teaching them something, or vice versa.
Well, there's a few perks to the job. On a personal note, we've managed to travel quite a bit, train with some awesome people. You had the opportunity to come down and train with Branch and I. At one point, we did some hunting. We had a crazy late night car ride with Branch where he had to put his cheater eyeglasses on, and we may have veered off the road down. But we've had a blast through the years. having those opportunities, and there are some great benefits to the business, and it's been a wild ride. It's been a lot of fun. What would you tell some of the folks out there? Let's indulge for a second on what some of the funner sides of the business are. I mean, it's definitely a blast to get out there and shoot some guns and stuff. I said we wouldn't get into this, but what are some of your favorite calibers and favorite, builds that you've done through the years that you're just like, damn, I might never have seen the light of day, but you're like, this is fucking awesome, Give these guys some build ideas.
I mean, for us, it's still fairly new, over the last, 4 or 5 years, making an appearance at SHOT Show and kind of showcasing what we can do. The first year we brought one gun to the range, which was 17.7, and it was just shooting fish in a barrel, man. Everybody went down the line, they shot everybody else's stuff, but they came right back to us, and that makes it really fun when somebody can, I guess that was it didn't seem like you were working at that point. Somebody's like, wow, you guys are doing something special here. 6.5 Creedmoor came out. That was a lot of fun. So instead of bringing something normal out, that's when we did the 14.1 carbine, and that got a lot of attention, and that was a lot of fun to do. But I go back to the customer experience. When you're traveling, you're getting out there. That is when it doesn't feel like work. You really do get to connect with them. You get to connect with other companies, which I love. And like I said, just the relationships that have come with it, it doesn't really feel like work. The first part of it, I hate it because I really don't like to leave my family. I'll miss my wife, and it gets hard for me. But once we get there, and you're talking with people, and you're getting in the element, and people are shooting your rifles, it really doesn't get any funner than that. And for me, I'm from Florida. It's swamp, and granted, there's great things about Florida, but I go to places and see mountains and and all this stuff. So it's a constant pinch myself moment that I've yet to not appreciate. It hasn't gotten monotonous for me. Like, oh, I hate this drag. No, it's a wild ride, and I'm super appreciative of the opportunity.
I want to play a quick game with you before we get close to wrapping, and I'm going to put you on the spot. This is a should people build, and you can say yes to everything. I don't want you to qualify your remarks.
We already prepped for this yesterday. You know the answer.
Okay.
Should people build a 50 Beowulf?
No.
Should people build a 458?
Soon.
Yes or no?
Yes, soon.
There's a riddle in there, folks. 300 blackout.
Aaron here, he's just like, yes.
300 blackout.
Yes.
9mm.
Yes.
7mm.
No.
Ooh. What's the one build obscure caliber that should be on everybody's radar? Don't weasel out of this.
Obscure? I don't know if anything's obscure.
To you, it's normal because everybody in this room fucks around with weird shit. But give me something that not the average consumer would look at.
I think I'm still waiting for the big acceptance for 224 Valkyrie. I think there's still a lot to be experienced there. We get that caliber in more people's hands. You're really going to enjoy it. And I think everybody's overlooking Grendel. Both of those are pretty exciting, and I still think
we're fans of the Grendel here.
They have legs, and and I don't think people are overlooking it. It's again, it's what's popular and what people are going to do. And
yeah.
What about a 357 SIG PCC?
No comment.
What about a 10mm?
10mm PCC.
Yeah, sure.
Subgun.
Can it be harnessed?
I think so. What, the 10mm?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Effectively.
Possibly. It's difficult.
But not impossible.
Look, I think you're going to try to find a way to do it, so I'm trying not to be negative here.
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's so many calibers out there, and I promised Clint we wouldn't get into the caliber debate because once it starts, then the YouTube starts going like a slot machine, and everybody chiming in with obscure calibers that they're trying to build and get into. But is there ever something that you guys look at as a team, and this will give me a little insight into Ballistic, that you're kind of like, and then like you have to step up in the room and be like, are you all fucking crazy? Is there ever like that moment? I know I've brought up some crazy stuff to Clint through the years. I'll call him, and one guy, Diesel 308, says 50 GI PCC. you know. But there's some that a lot of people kind of take a look at. Was there ever a caliber that you guys looked at that you had to step up in the room and be like, hello, you know, no, this isn't happening? Or is there ever something that people floated out that you were like, the industry as a whole floated out that you were like, there's no way this is going to work, like total disaster zone?
No, I think sometimes you have to be willing to see the pros and cons and see if it's going to actually work for us. Nothing's really taboo to speak about. You know, we'll bring it up and discuss it and decide if it's
300 Win Mag pistol.
No.
No. Stop.
No. That one, I've already told you no on that one.
No.
Before.
That's an interesting question there from on YouTube. Matt Cope asked if there's an 8.6 Creedmoor barrel coming anytime soon. That's a rounds to be being developed by Q along with Hornady, I believe.
We've discussed.
Cool.
We've discussed it. It's a possibility. I do ask people to be patient with it. You know, it just doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's got to make sense. And but we do listen to the industry and see what's going on. But we'll do our own testing. And
The only way to be the
internal
first one to market
discussions.
is if you're the one that's helping whoever's developing it do the barrels. That's pretty much it.
Is it a true statement, and it gets brought up a lot, I think it's true, that bullet technology and the technology of the production of ammunition has improved far greater than firearms technology, meaning that we're seeing a lot of these cool calibers kind of burst on the scene because the technology and refinement has gotten better, Clint, in that we're able to harness some of these cartridges that maybe in the past the purity and the powder and wasn't there, and that's why we're seeing kind of this boom of certain calibers come on the scene?
Not necessarily. I think sometimes there's not too many new things that are actually happening or they've actually been done before.
We've seen it with handguns because we've seen 9mm, start to exceed the 40 and the 45.
Innovation is great, but you're really, if you're any kind of history buff, there's been some pretty cool things that have already been created, and I think sometimes people take, credit for recreating something when, it's already existed. So, innovation and it's definitely the culture of the gun industry to continue to get better and improve, but. There is one of my favorite lines that Adam uses is, there's nothing new under the sun, just endless repackaging. So
It's a good way. That's a great statement, actually.
He's got a ton of them. But you do have to keep an open mind. But there's been a ton of work like this and innovation that's already been done before. So, I don't think there's a real general way to answer that question.
So it's already starting on YouTube, and we'll take one of them or maybe two. 224 Valkyrie versus 28 Nosler.
You mean 22 Nosler?
28 he has down, but
I'd rather have a 224. Sorry.
So we're not going to get into the caliber debate.
No, we're not going to have that discussion.
We're not gonna do
That's
it.
just my.
That's
opinion.
a whole episode.
Yeah.
That's something for Hickok 45 or something. That's a whole nother show. But for those of you out there interested in the caliber debate and things like that, slide into Clint's DM. He loves it. And don't hesitate to ask him. But
Sorry, honey.
The caliber, and we'll kind of start to wrap on this because we'll get long. But the caliber debate wages on forever. It goes on in the hunting community, it goes on in the tactical community, it goes on and it goes in waves. I can't end the show without getting your take on it. Do you feel like a lot of it's nonsense and people should stick to the basics, or should they listen to innovation, listen to change, and see some of the different calibers? I know being on the inside of the industry, you have to look at it, but do you feel people jump on the fad too soon, or do you feel like they're like, oh, it's new, I have to have it? Where does it kind of become hokey parlor tricks and ninja shit, and where should people stick to the basics?
I think if you have somebody that's truly looking at it from a user standpoint, I mean, anything's worth trying or using, but have some data for yourself that's actually true, and stop just going with what other people say. But I'm never going to get in the way of someone who's, trying to have an opinion, or why can't people disagree? Why does there have to be a debate of right or wrong or anything? What if somebody really likes this caliber or this particular package and it works for them?
Then that's fine.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So is 300 Blackout the ultimate debate?
In terms of what? In comparison to?
Is it a fad? Is that where the Mendoza line is of calibers, or is there a certain caliber that folks kind of fixate on, or feel like it should be thrown out or it should be mainstream? Is there a caliber out there that you see should be a mainstream caliber that isn't? Is there something that I know you're a big Valkyrie fan, but is there one in particular that really maybe hasn't made it to the mainstream, that's a better way to put it, that you feel should be recognized and built?
If you're bringing up 300 Blackout, I guess I'm not aware of the debate if people don't like it or not. I think it's...
People say, go right to 308. Why bother there? Stay with 223, you're fine.
Well, if it's closer range, it's a lower pressure round, it's softer shooting. It's, I have a lot of fun shooting 300 Blackout. It's one of my favorite things to shoot. I think there's pros and cons to any kind of caliber, but, again, what are your goals? How far are you shooting? What are you building? And what are you going to tell the guy that has built everything and except a 300 Blackout? Well, now it's time to build one of those. So I don't get into the debate to tell people how to live their life, what they should build, what they should be shooting, or what's better. You tell me a guy who's stuck on that, I'll show you somebody else who's been successful with, that very caliber or that length barrel that you think is not,
Because what I've felt in the rifle game is people buy the 223, they get the 308, they build the 300 Blackout. Some stop there. That's why I say it's kind of the Mendoza line. Some kind of stop there, and then some go a step further, and they have to have the 458 or the 50 Beowulf. They take it a step further. I'm looking at Aaron. They take it a step further. Do you feel like, that's where the line of demarcation is between that DIY guy and that buy-it-off-the-shelf guy? Where do they turn the corner? Where do we lose them into the DIY
I think
space?
You're always going to have people who are a little bit more passionate about something than others. There's plenty of people who work out, but is there people who go in there lifting what we lift? They might think we're crazy. Like, what are you doing? Put that down. So how am I gonna take the guy who wants to build everything and has this big vault? That's his passion. That's what he loves. Let him do it.
So Chris Cooper says 7.62 by 54R is the Lord's caliber.
That's disgusting. I'm
The
disgusted.
Lord's caliber.
So we touched on so many things, and we briefly get into the caliber debate. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun having you on. We could probably do this all day long. Kind of start to wrap on this a little bit, because I think how long are we, Derek? Are we over an hour now?
We're over an hour. Not quite an hour and 10.
Wow. Where does it go? Jeez. So,
Where do you go?
Yeah. The last two guests, it just flies. So we've said so much, and we've touched on a bunch of things. I want to kind of ask you one more kind of closing question. Where do you see the next level of innovation in the rifle world, and where do you see it going? What do you see the next thing that people aren't looking at yet? Is it precision? Is it long range? You can talk in generals. Is it a caliber? What do you see the consumer looking at next, or the direction of the rifle game going?
Acceptance. I think growth as a whole, and better educating people who are anti-gun, and see it, the lifestyle that goes with it, the people that are just like, the anti-gunners that, are just everyday people, but it doesn't have this stigma on it. So not necessarily from a manufacturing standpoint or new products or bullets or anything else, but I'd like to see it get more overall accepted and to be seen as something more mainstream.
Clint Hanson, the politician. So
That was probably the most politically correct answer I've ever heard.
I can't
It's how I feel.
disagree. I can't disagree with it.
I'm not judging you. For
I can't disagree with it, but I didn't ask you this before. Bolt action. What are your thoughts?
I think it's awesome. I think the evolution of Ballistic Advantage could definitely go that route one day.
Could include a bolt action product line.
Yeah, I think sky's the limit for us, and where we're going with this, but, in time.
I'm into it. That's cool.
You heard it here first. Breaking news.
Yeah, I don't think
Start
it's gonna happen anytime soon,
spamming Ballistic Advantage with your inquiries.
Slide into Clint's DM.
I think it's a natural progression, eventually, but I think we're going to be around a long time. We're definitely trying to build a legacy and be a respected brand.
Well, I think you're already there, Clint, and I think you've done so much. I can't thank you enough for coming in, and really, it means a lot to have you here. It means a lot to have you in the building. Spend some time with the team. I genuinely mean that. I watch them pay attention, and they have a limited amount of time with you left today. I'm hoping that they get all the questions they have in because you are a wealth of information. It was a great hour having you on. There's no question. I'm looking forward to whatever the industry brings for both of us, and especially going to be watching, what BA is going to be doing, over the years. I think you guys have an awesome culture there. I've visited the facility quite a few times over the years, and I thank you genuinely from the bottom of my heart for coming
most
in.
welcome.
It means a
Appreciate it.
lot. And our friendship means the world to me, and I can't thank you enough. There's many a times I've had to pick up the phone and call this guy and get his opinion on things, his take. When I hear things from my team that go over my head, I'm kind of like, hey, I got this feedback coming back. What do what should we be looking at? And you've been invaluable to me for that, and I thank you. Where can people find you? Where can they find BA, and give us your plugs and everything in between?
Obviously, you can go to the website, Ballistic Advantage.
It's up on the screen.
Ballistic Advantage on Instagram, Facebook. Our YouTube channel, we're doing a lot with that. We do a weekly video of a Q&A.
Everybody's going to YouTube.
Yeah, so that just kind of, it could be build questions, anything. Lord knows what it's going to evolve to. This format's fantastic. Maybe it'll take a little turn. Maybe I'll be stealing a little tidbits from you guys and have you guys down.
Sure you will.
But
That'd be cool.
we're available quite a bit, and again, if there's suggestions on what we should do better, we're definitely an open-minded company to kind of answer the call and do what you guys want to see.
So is DM or tap that contact email bar is the best way, right? Mm-hmm. You guys are pretty proactive about that stuff, so send him your questions or anything that comes up. Any other plugs, anything else you want to kind of highlight, touch on?
No, not necessarily.
Any top secret projects you want to leak?
They wouldn't be top secret, would they?
Yeah.
Any
You're asking him to compromise his own integrity, man. Come on.
trying to squeeze something secret out of Clint? You
No,
said something was coming soon. You said wait.
Well, you had to catch that part, That's
Okay, go back. You know what? For those of us that are listening, go back in the podcast, re-listen to it, and maybe you might get a little tidbit there.
Yeah, it was 458. We're definitely paying attention
nice.
to that. So.
All right, cool.
You heard it here first, people. Breaking news on
Look
Behind
how
the
excited
Flame.
Aaron
I
is.
have no timeline for you. Please don't get impatient, but
Slide into the DM immediately.
we've been teasing it for a long time now, so I might as well say.
Ba-da-da-da.
Oh my gosh, John, you're loud.
But please check out the YouTube channel. Definitely want people to watch that. There's definitely
Nice.
the Builder series on there, but we want to interact with all of you, and and we appreciate the support.
I had
So
to get
check
some
it out.
breaking news out of you, Clint. That's
It's all good.
Yeah, well, I'm not too interesting, so I don't really love that.
Oh,
I have a new child on the way, so me and my wife are very happy about
I was wondering if you were
That's
going to bring
exciting.
that up.
Yeah.
Hats off to Clint.
that. Yeah, all
He's-
girls, man, all girls.
He's procreating. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this. A lot of Vikings running around.
Yeah, the world needs more Vikings.
Seriously. I heard that earlier. The forearm joke. Everybody's a comedian. So we definitely appreciate having you, everybody in here. I know I speak for the team and Melinda and Jason. It's been awesome. I'm going to turn it over to Sam for the closing remarks, but I want to take a minute to thank you again. And I appreciate
You're
you
welcome.
coming down and
Thanks
spending
for
the
having
time.
me.
Looking forward to a great lunch and a good training session. We're going to beat the shit out of each other. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
And
shoulder
then,
day.
yeah, and then we'll get some good dinner at Melinda. Cooking with Mel tonight.
Yeah.
So for
I'm
those of
excited.
you tuning in,
What are we having?
chicken parm tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited. I had leftover steak when I landed, and it was the best meal I've ever had
The
in my
last
life.
time I had chicken parm with Melinda, I was trapped on a mountain in about 8 feet of snow. Let's be real. When you went off that drift,
We were trapped in the truck.
I hid in the truck
And
Yeah.
with nothing but a packet of peanut butter to survive. We were miles from civilization,
someone came to your rescue that night.
and Jacob showed up,
Oh, I'm sorry. There was someone with Jacob.
and Scummins. Scummins showed up in the Millennium Falcon with a fast
was.
retrieval.
It was actually Jacob's brother's pickup, but that's fine.
Yeah, well, we'll call it the Falcon for now. But I'm going to turn it over to you, Sam, for closing and the contest. And everybody on YouTube, thank you for chiming in. Please don't hesitate to share this. If you share this, you're going to have a leg up.
All right, listen
Thank you.
up. All right, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in to the episode today. We really appreciate everyone that watched, both on YouTube and on Facebook, and to all those that are going to be tuning in later on the various podcasting apps. For all the distribution channels which you can find Behind the Flame, please head over to BehindTheFlame.com. You can also find the podcast tab on the Falcor Defense website. You'll see that on the screen right now, I believe. And that gives you all your options for how to listen to, watch Behind the Flame, past episodes, and the sponsors. We do want to thank our show sponsors that make every episode possible, and that would be Kenzie's Optics. We got on the screen Chick-fil-A Kalispell, Taurus USA, Bang Energy, 221B Tactical, Mark Bell's Slingshot. Those are all our awesome sponsors for the show. We want to thank those guys. And lastly, the giveaway for this episode is a Falcor swag pack and a Ballistic Advantage barrel of your choice. To enter that, there's always a procedure, guys, but to be honest with you, the most important thing to do is to share our stuff on social media and make some noise. Make us notice you. So leave us reviews on iTunes. That helps us out a ton. Share the posts on your personal pages and tag us. Tag your friends in our posts. That helps a ton. Do all that stuff. Make sure we notice who you are, and Austin will make sure that it's widely known.
Special thank you to Kenzie's. I didn't have their tab up.
Boom. Here you go, Derek. Tell them.
Just tell them, hey, thank you, Kenzie's, for being there from the beginning.
Yeah, Kenzie's Optics has been with us since, I think, the first or second episode for a while. So thank you so much
Great
to those
selection.
guys. Awesome selection over there. Guys, this has been Behind the Flame. We're ending the week out here at Falcor Defense with Clint Hanson. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week. Who we got coming on the show, John?
We have. Hang on. We
Tell
have.
me, John.
We have. Wait. Hang on. Hang on.
Oh my gosh.
We're gonna measure now. Whoa. Let me get this right. We have. Yeah, I wasn't ready.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We have Andy Stump coming on, former Navy SEAL.
Nice.
Well, current Navy SEAL Andy Stump coming
Andy
on
Stump
Wednesday.
coming on the show on
He'll be in
Wednesday.
studio, and we have Christine Cordia Maximus.
Is she coming into the studio or is she doing it via Skype?
We'll figure it out.
All right, guys. Next, we got 2 podcasts coming for you next week. Make sure you stay tuned to the Falcor Defense Instagram page and social media channels for the most up-to-date information on all things Falcor. We'll see you next week, folks.